Today we're going to work on graphing functions from a table. So the first thing we have to have is a completed table. So to do that, you take the numbers that you're given, if you're given numbers, and you plug them in the equation under the appropriate place. So this says x equals -3. So we will plug a -3 in for all the x's in our equation. So we'll do y equals -3 squared. So -3 squared, remember, means -3 times -3, which is +9. Then we move on to our next one. We have now a -2 for x. So we plug a -2 in place of the x. So y equals -2 squared, or -2 times -2, which is +4. Then we do the same thing with the 0. 0 squared is 0. Same thing with the 1. So 1 squared is 1. And 2 squared is 4. So 2 times 2 is 4. Then we just go from our table to our graph. So the number that comes under the x will be how many you go sideways, remember? And then the y will be how many you go up or down. So since we have a -3 and a 9, we'll start at the origin and we'll go 3 to the left and then up 9. And we put our dot. Then we start back over at the origin. Now we're going to do the coordinate -2, 4, because that's the next pair of numbers that comes in our table. So we'll go 2 to the left and up 4. Now we go to the next one, which is 0, 0. So over 0, up 0. And then 1, 1. So over 1 to the right because it's positive, and up 1 because that one is positive. Then we have 2, 4. So this is 2 to the right and up 4. Then the last thing we're going to do is just connect our points. We know that this keeps going, so we put arrows at the end. So this is what the graph of y equals x squared will look like. The next thing that we're doing is going to be graphing when we don't even have a table. So this time we have to create our own table. So we still need an x and a y column. You'll notice in the equation this time we don't have y. Instead there's an f, parentheses, and x. That simply means a function of x. When we say it like shorthand, we say f of x. So instead of y, we're going to put an f of x here. Now, f of x and y can stand for the same thing from what we're using it for today. So this is our input column and our output column, no matter if we use x and y or x and f of x. So we have to make up some numbers to put in here for x. You can just really make these up, but I'd like to use two negatives, so I need two different negative numbers. So let's just go with -2 and -1. I'd like to use a 0, and then two positive numbers. So I'm just going to go with 1 and 2. And the only reason I chose 0, or -2 and -1, and 1 and 2 is because they're easy to work with. You can choose 5 and -7. It doesn't matter. Just I picked ones that are easy for me to work with. So I plug this number in for the x in the equation. Now on the left, you could write f of -2. That simply means I'm going to plug -2 in for x on the other side. So you don't really even have to worry about this, so don't let this part stress you out. We just do 2 times -2 is -4. -4 plus 1 is -3. Then we move on to the next one, and we'll do 2 times -1 is -2. -2 plus 1 is -1. Now I'm going to do 0, so 2 times 0 is 0 plus 1 is +1. Then I do a 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Now I have the table that I can plot the points for. So I go -2, -3, so 2 to the left because the 2 is negative, down 3 because the 3 is negative. -1, -1 means I go 1 to the left and down 1. Over 0, up 1. Over 1, up 3. Over 2, up 5. And I connect all my dots and make this with a line. And then I have finished. So that's how we go from an equation to a table to a graph.